Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. This podcast is here to get you from playing contractor to being a business operator. There is a huge disconnect in that space, and I want to help you solve it by interviewing the best and the brightest in the industry that I come across. This week, we've got Matt Garcia, and we're going to talk about going from knees to retail. Before I get into that, I need to say that the Floor Academy podcast is sponsored by Tralama, the trade labor marketplace where businesses can find skilled trade labor, such as flooring installers, and where flooring installers and other skilled tradespeople can find permanent or project work. You can set up your profile at tralama.com. That's TRALAMA.com. Or download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play. And remember, Tralama is always free for skilled trades labor. Oh, sorry, skilled trades people. We had to change that. I apologize. All right, Matt. Dude, you're over here slumming it with me, dude. You get Floor Academy podcast, and our buddies Josh Hansman and Derek Sweigel, they get put up in Hardwood Floors magazine for December and January. Like, what are you doing?
I know. I'm like so happy for those guys, but I don't really want to show it too much because I am a little jealous.
I know. And then you just get invited to be on the little podcast. Ah, jeez. But you got Floor of the Year. So I think you're doing a little bit better. Well, Josh got Floor of the Year for that tree insert, didn't he? Or just recognition on it?
It was just got recognition. Yeah, he got recognition on it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, it definitely was a contender. I feel bad for the judges trying to judge some of that stuff because I'm going, man, you know, they put out everything that is in your category on big. They got like a whole area at the convention where they show everybody that was a contender on there. And you're walking through going, oh, my gosh, wow, that must be a real tough decision.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. Even deciding on the 40, under 40 has got to be tough. They've got to get so many entries, and then to, whittle it down to we're going to pick these ones. So, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself? I know you've been on once before, but I lost you. Well, apparently Matt doesn't want to be interviewed anymore. Let's see if he comes back. Now I'm just here by myself. What's going on, Facebook world? And listeners soon to be in podcast land. Matt has dropped out of Zoom. We will see if he comes back here. Maybe I actually do some editing on the podcast side. Probably not. There he is. I lost you, buddy.
Hey, sorry about that.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
my phone was do not disturb, and I got disturbed, so I don't know what's up with that.
You're good. We're gonna leave it as is. We're gonna keep on rolling. So you've been on once before. Introduce yourself, but for anybody that doesn't know you, for first time listeners, go ahead, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So grew up in the trade. My dad taught me. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do the first couple of years, but after that, I realized that I do have passion for the work, and that passion has evolved over the years. It started off as I just felt like I wanted to be a business owner, and I also wanted to work with my hands, so that was just a natural fit for me. And so, I rolled with it, and probably about 8 years ago, I really got the itch to grow the business. And I really didn't, it's one thing to have an idea of wanting to run a business and kind of all the awesomeness behind it. I mean, if that's something that you like, that you would want to do, but when you really get down to it, it's a bit different. It takes a lot of different skills than I realized that that are necessary. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
been kind of
Mm-hmm.
an interesting development, trying to figure out all of that stuff. But I mean, it's been a great journey. Really seeing the industry as a whole has been a big deal. I love going to the conventions and meeting all the people. And I had no idea that world even existed. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just excited about it. I mean, I think just, what you see on social media and the connections that are made, I'm really excited for, the people that are passionate, that are coming up young in the trade. It's really reinvigorated me. And there's so many avenues that I didn't even really think were possible that are possible now. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, if people are not taking advantage of that, I mean, there's a ton of opportunity out there. And I think that, we could really, the Gen Z kids coming up, I mean, they get excited about it. That is something that they connect to. And so, I think what you're doing is great. It's getting the information out there. So I'm excited to see where the industry goes in the next 10 years,
Definitely.
especially, there is shortages going on, but there's going to be a lag there, which is going to create a great incentive for new guys to come into the trade. And there really is a new appreciation for the trades coming out. So, I mean, it could be the perfect storm for our industry, honestly.
No, I totally agree. I think the lack of skilled labor, keyword there being skilled, in this industry is going to make it a very lucrative career over the next probably 5-10 years as this older generation kind of phases out, retires more. And if retailers think they're having a shortage now, give it another 5 years and we're going to have a huge shortage. And so it's probably going to become a name your price game, which then means I can pay starting help a higher wage so that people will actually be interested in doing the work. We'll get some people trained, and then eventually, too many people will flood the market and the prices will get, we'll have to bring them down, but I think you'll still be able to make a great living. Like, there's no reason that as a skilled tradesperson, you shouldn't be able to plan for retirement and save some money. There's no excuse for living check to check when you're doing this, unless you're just absolutely horrible with money, which is one of the reasons why this show is here. Is let's get people educated on those things you said, right? There's a huge difference between what you were doing on the floor and what you learned you had to do once you opened and actually were like, I'm going to run a business, as opposed to I just install floors. So let's get that info out there. Let's help people be successful, be able to pay better, give benefits, all that fun stuff. But let's start with your journey here, right? Because you opened your retail shop, I want to say 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is our first year in business, fully staffed. I had a boutique type appointment only showroom for probably 2 or 3 years. It really helped to gain traction and build up my clientele, but it was pretty difficult. It was more challenging than I had thought. I thought, this is just going to open up, all the doors to me selling more material. And I mean, it could have been that just wasn't my cup of tea. But I just found myself running around, bringing samples, and people, they're very reluctant to want to set up an appointment at the appointment only showroom. Okay. And so, yeah, so it has been a little bit of trial and error. And I feel like, this last year has been great, though. I feel like we worked out a lot of kinks, and I mean, that's part of why I wanted to come on here, because I mean, if I could save somebody, the trouble, or not even so much the trouble, but just kind of help them to realize, there might be some guys that can do the appointment only showroom and just kill it. I know that model works. Josh Hansman, that's how their company runs. And I mean, they run crews, multiple crews out of there, and they keep Josh, 100% busy all the time. So I know it can work. But, I think that's part of, the process is kind of learning, what works for you. I mean, especially if you are an installer trying to, build more revenue. I mean, it might be the golden ticket.
Well, and honestly, that's where I'm at. So over the past, I had a lease start November 15th. So I am officially a retail store owner. I have 255 square feet, real big, but you got to play the game, folks. And they want you to have a brick and mortar. I found me a
Yep.
brick and mortar. And so there was this place that was, they hadn't been able to rent the full like office space for like 3 years. So they finally divided it up, and I was like, can I put a flooring showroom in here? And they were like, sure, whatever you want. I was like, all right. So I have 255 square feet. I got the floor installed. I've got displays going in. It's by appointment only. My buddy, Jesse Boswell, who, shout out to him, was my first purchase. Here you go. Checks right here, framed, going on the wall over at the store. I have an appointment with a GC I do some work with occasionally. He's got somebody coming by Saturday. So it seems to be coming together, right? But I also know that now I have reps with displays that need to come out, and they're going to have to call me, and I'm going to be like, well, no, I'm busy then. Can we do it here? Well, no, I have an appointment then, right? Like that appointment only thing, I know what you're talking about because I know it's going to prove to be difficult. But at the same time, for me, it's about, I know I've lost sales because I didn't have access to the product. So I wanted the product. Now I have the product. I'll deal with the other stuff. And so, the fact that you now have this full-time showroom, and I know was your mom already out there, or you brought your mom out to give her the job? How'd that go?
Yeah. So basically, I was doing the appointment only showroom at that point, and our shipping hub would store material. I'm in kind of a desert, so our distributors are all 3 to 4 hours away. And so it's everything has to come, freight. And so on a common carrier, we do have some trucks that come in, but the companies that, were willing to sell to me, being independent, were more hardwood flooring specific. And so it was getting really expensive. The shipping hub like doubled their price, to basically receive and store the materials. And so for less money, I could rent a warehouse. It wasn't real big. It was like 1,000 square feet. And I couldn't believe how inexpensive the price of the warehouse was, and it was in an area that I really liked. So what ended up happening is once I got the warehouse up, the landlord is a really great guy, and there was a nice area up in the front of the building that had some stone facade up in the front, and I thought it would make a great area for a showroom. So I told the landlord, hey, if you ever have an opening there, can I have first dibs on it? Because I already have this warehouse in the back, and that would be ideal. And I was thinking, maybe the lease would be up in like a year or two or something like that. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's great. The tenants are going to be out in like 3 months. And I'm like, oh, man, like, you're killing me, man. And so I had talked to my mom, because, my wheels just got turning. I'm going, gosh, this is a great spot. The rent is so inexpensive. And it really lit a fire for me to move forward on that. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to my mom. She's like, yeah, and it was kind of funny because she was like, yeah, let's get this going. I think that would be a good idea. But we're kind of in just the preemptive planning stages. The tenants weren't out yet, and I had to do some remodeling. So we knew we had a chunk of time. Well, COVID hit. After I'd already signed my lease. And I'm just going, oh, great. I just signed a 5-year lease on this building, and I don't know what the heck's going to happen. And so we just kept moving forward, and we really only had a couple of weeks where we just had to shuffle. When they first did the shutdown, we kind of had to shuffle our jobs around a little bit to make that work. And we've just been slammed ever since. I mean, it just really hadn't let up. So my mom also was doing photography in California, and photography pretty much dried up from COVID. Like, she had to give back her deposits, and I mean, it was a mess. So she's like, this is perfect timing. So she came in and she took over all my books and everything while we were getting the store up and going. She even kind of helped like paint and do some things in here. And so that, I mean, it's kind of a long story how it all happened, but it was interesting because I knew I wanted to go for it, but really kind of seeing that, wow, you really can't do this by the seat of the pants if you have to.
Well, I think that's business, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
essentially, at some point, you decide, like, screw it, I can be responsible for my own financial well-being, so I'm gonna go out on this ledge here and teeter over it and hope that I can somehow find a way to, like, build in front of me to be able to take that next step, and it starts working. And I think, like, the real entrepreneurial mind works best when it's out on that ledge trying to figure out, like, how do I get this built so that I can actually move forward, right? You overcommit and you say you'll figure out the rest later. Like, planning is great, but you can talk about it all day long, but at some point you've got to make that leap. And so if you just talk about it, you're never going to go anywhere. And that's really what I'm kind of like, I want to dig into here is you've had it, it's opened. I know, you did, I can see the sample boards behind you. I got to assume that the herringbone one you made yourself.
No, actually,
no. Okay.
Yeah, that one's a manufacturer one. I want to do a basket weave and a bunch of custom ones with some borders that you can kind of, like, attach to each sample and see what it looks like and all that kind of stuff. But we've been so busy. I have a pretty cool hex pattern one that I had built for a customer. And it's like, I have a whole display that, like, what we're going to do back here, but it's going to be all our custom cut patterns. This is all reclaimed wood back here.
So, what I want to get into is, like, this journey of you going from you were subcontracting for stores in California, kind of being on your own. Maybe you hired an apprentice at some point and had some help, but you got the bug to run a business. You got the bug to grow a retail store. And now I know, because you're participating in that mastermind group I launched, that you're trying to get off the floor completely and you want to be able to manage your crews. And so I want to dig into that journey of how it's been for you to make sure you're finding the people, make sure you're training them correctly, and then you're really putting a lot of trust in them to say, all right, guys, you got to do it, like, as good as me or better, and step back and say, I'm just going to go find you work. So where did that kind of start? Like, what were your first inklings of, like, I need to be more than just the guy on the floor? And then how, what are the transition steps you've been making to even make this happen?
Yeah. It's been a real juggling act. I was naive about running a business like this, especially in the service industry. I mean, it's really people management. And I had to give myself a crash course in people management because you're building a team. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you do not want to build teams, you should not get into retail. I mean, honestly, it's very hard. I mean, especially as an installer, because if you're an installer, you have this unique advantage in the market, because a lot of the flooring stores that I've ever subbed for, they're reps maybe that came into the industry, or, they don't necessarily have an installation background. So they rely on a lot of marketing, and we really haven't had to market. We just, since we were strong on the install side, and I've trained all my guys, it's more that our capacity is based on our installation. So we don't have to advertise to get the business. In fact, I mean, we're going at a point where I'm going, geez, we've taken so many deposits. I hope that we can get all these floors installed, because people don't come to us just wanting just product. Mm-hmm. So you can run the product game, where you buy in bulk and you can raise prices to give them discounts and really work that angle. I think that that's totally fine. But as an installer, you do have a unique advantage. I mean, a lot of retails can't really promote the install side that heavily because they might have to use a C crew if they're really busy, and that can really put them in a catch-22. And I could see why they wouldn't want to take on those types of projects. Where if they have to put a C crew on a really expensive home because they're just so busy, that could be a bad combination. So I think, and if an installer wants to get into retail, I mean, that is a great way to raise your profits. I mean, you're already there doing the work. If you can put the effort and create systems to where you can get the products easily and efficiently, I mean, the moving product is like the icing on the cake. I mean, honestly, it's like I said, you are taking a whole different set of challenges, and a lot of guys, it's not going to be for them. I mean, if you're hands-on, you don't want to manage people, you don't want to create teams and things like that, I would highly recommend don't do it. Go do what Ken Valen does, and really promote yourself. Maybe have an apprentice with you, and you can do really great on that angle of things. But for me, I needed something to really kind of ignite my passion, and I wanted to go the full retail, mostly specializing in wood floors. We do some LVP and stuff like that too, but I feel like recognizing your strengths is probably the most important thing you can start out with.
Okay, no, I agree. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't look for, is that they're not looking at what they're good at, and then on the opposite side of that is, let's look at what we suck at, and let's fill that gap and put somebody in that position. I think that's the whole point. You're right. It's really hard when you start off and you're everything in the business. You're marketing and your sales and you're the installer and your customer service and your scheduling, and you have 50 hats and you're not good at all of them and you don't enjoy all of them. What is it that you're truly passionate about? So go fill the seats and pay somebody to do it. That's why I always encourage people. Like, it's, a lot of guys run their own books, and look, if you want to spend your time that way, that's fine. I'm going to pay my bookkeeper, I think it's like $1,800 a year, $2,000 a year, something like that. It's not a lot of money out of my pocket to free up all those hours I would be entering stuff, and I wouldn't enter it. I would just look at my bank accounts and say, it's close enough, and then hand a bunch of receipts to an accountant at the end of the year and pay way too much because he's got to now go through and make actual books. So it's easier to pay somebody and lose a little, revenue or profit than do everything yourself. It frees me up to go on more bids because I don't have to sit at home and do my books. It just, that team building, that finding the holes and filling them is so important.
Yeah, I feel like I waited way too long to have proper accounting. My mom came in, was able to take that over, but even now, we just got a quote today actually for somebody just to take over the books, just because, it's kind of like, oh, well, let's just kind of do that. We kind of need to know how to keep track of this stuff anyways. And now it's just like, gosh, I mean, it's like, do you really even want, somebody, in-house bookkeeper like that, that isn't a pro? Because when we saw the rates for it, my mom was like, I'll pay him out of my pocket to do that, because that's just going to take a ton off of me. And she's in the office already. And it's like, it really is an eye opener, because, I was just kind of like, we can kind of, this is our first year. We'll just kind of do that. And now I'm just going, gosh, why? What's the point?
Yeah. And then, I mean, you brought up too, like, some guys aren't going to want to sell product and deal with it. I was always of the mindset of like, I want that a little extra gravy. And I'm also fortunate enough, I'm sure when you were in California, it was much easier for you to get products. Being here in Phoenix, it's really easy to get products. There's like 7 distributors in town. But I know now where you're at in San Angelo, like you said, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. And some of the closest distributors are 3-4 hours away. Like, you can't just, I can hop in my truck and I can go get my product. It's 30 minutes away. It's no big deal. 3-4 hours, man, you're dedicating a whole day if you got to go pick up that product yourself. So you better get a big old box truck and 5 orders together before you go and do that to make it worth your while. So, man, it goes all different ways. Like how you have to find what works best for you in your business. And so I know you've been struggling a little bit with getting off the floor, and you don't do as much as you used to. I know you're taking on like more of the high end things and some of the more difficult tasks. But what has that journey been like to even put together a couple of crews and get them to the point where you really feel comfortable saying, all right, guys, here's the project, there's the tools, have at it?
Yeah, it was hard for me. I like to have control of the end result and all that good stuff. And I think allowing the guys to work on their own and just see the end result and go, hey, yeah, maybe it's not exactly the way that I would have done it, but the client is completely thrilled with it. I'm getting great feedback. And these guys really are killing it. I really am blessed that I do have guys that I can trust. Most of them they're all either millennials or we have one Gen Z, and these guys are out there, knocking the jobs out. They definitely have a different approach than I do. They really like that, 8-hour a day, 9 to 5 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They like the steady paycheck. I've tried to put it out there to kind of see, what they like, what they don't like. And it seems like, they really want that stability. And so it was different. I really had to open my mind and think how do I want to be treated as an employee of a flooring company, but how, get in their head. And a lot of them, think a lot differently than I do. Mm-hmm. And so there's been, that challenge on different fronts. So I'm kind of balancing, are they going to do it exactly the way that I want to have it done or whatever? And I've learned to let it go. There's a place for all different types of floors. Not everybody wants like the Cadillac or the Lamborghini of wood floors, Yeah. Most people, they're very happy with just a really nice, clean looking wood floor that's installed well. We do vinyl plank too. And, I'm not a snob about it. It's like, yeah, sometimes vinyl plank is the right choice for that customer. Mm-hmm. And, if I want to serve them well, I shouldn't just push whatever I want on them. I really I want to educate them, make sure, that they're getting the product that is right for them. Yeah. If that's a vinyl plank floor, then that's totally fine. If it's, one of these reclaimed, beautiful, wood floors with patina face and, and all the, extras that you can add to it with custom stains and all that kind of stuff, or a pattern floor, sky's the limit. We can produce any of that kind of stuff. And I love doing it, but honestly, it's very difficult to do that on a high production scale. And so, we have a lot of clients that are loyal to us. If we spend all of our time doing, high-end custom stuff, it's kind of like, well, our bread and butter is really over here. Mm-hmm. This other stuff is great for branding and getting people excited about wood floors. Because we have people that come in and they like, oh, I saw this beautiful pattern that you did and blah, blah, blah. But they don't want to hire us for that pattern. They want to they just know that if I can do that, we can do their a basic install. We'll knock it out of the park, no problem. So they're really not talking about price at that point.
Yeah. What's it been like to, what are you willing to accept? I know, like when I've talked with Josh Hansman, I got to go and listen to it and I haven't done it. Sprig, was on one of the NWFA podcasts and he was talking about like, you can't expect more than like 80% out of your employees, right? Like if we're the business owner, we're giving 110%. because we want it perfect and we're these true craftsmen, or whatever it is that's in us that says like, I have to go above and beyond and provide this at a top-notch level. What are you accepting from your employees? Like, are they giving you 100%? Are they matching your efforts, or are they are there some things that you walk by and you're like, man, I know that's acceptable to the client and it'll slide, but I would have done it better?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do. There's certain things I won't accept. But if it's on the edge of industry standard, we're trying to exceed a lot of the industry standards.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of it's what we let slide is kind of on the edge. It's like, oh, maybe our stagger wasn't as stellar as it could be. That's not really, there are industry standards for that. But, if I got a real wide plank longboard, I don't want to see, really any stair steps, because you don't have to on that type of product. But I mean, there's other circumstances too, where it's I'm not going to just, be nitpicky over things. They're learning, and every once in a while, I do it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to replace that board. It's like, it's fine. I'm not going to drive myself nuts over it. And I mean, there's a time and place for it. There are some jobs where it's like, yeah, maybe we're doing a wood floor of the year level floor. It's going to be a contender. Then it's like, yeah, I mean, we're not going to accept any level of imperfection. But if we're doing a closet or something like that and the end joint's too close, I mean, come on, like, the shoes are going to cover that. I'm not going to split hairs over it. Obviously, if something is just beyond what's reasonable, I'll put my foot down on it. And sometimes I do. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to force you guys to tear out this board, but or maybe I actually have. I have had them tear out board because it was too close. Just because partly I'm like, homeowner probably won't be upset about it, but they've done this twice on the job now. Like, they need to own up and realize, hey, I am going to have, there is a consequence if I do this, that I'm going to have to tear out this board. Nobody loves tearing out boards.
Yeah, no, not at all. I don't even like getting paid to do it, and I make good money doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What's the biggest change that you've had to like overcome so far as you continue to step back and take on this more managerial role, and you're out doing estimates more, and you're not necessarily on the tools all day, right? You're there and you're like looking over things, and you're taking on more of this mentor probably role than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I like being out on the jobs. I feel like, running the showroom and things like that, I feel like is actually probably a little easier to hire for than even the installation, especially when we're trying to do high quality work. And so it's a great fit for me because, I don't have to be, I really don't like doing office type work. I like being involved in doing the estimates, doing more of the technical side and all that. So for me, the most important part, in an area that I really have had to change is not seeing an apprentice as somebody that hands me tools. I want to teach them how to do it. I mean, you made a great point about they slow you down until they make you faster. And, when you're trying to build teams, my time is much better spent if instead of me doing it, I show somebody how to do it. Mm-hmm. So, if I run around on the job sites, like if I'm there, I should spend my time not doing something and having somebody watch me do it. I can step by step show them how to do it because I had never been in a position where I could actually do that. And, that way it kind of frees my guys up to be able to do that, but they're kind of learning by osmosis too, because I want them to be able to, if I'm working with the guy, I'm trying to evaluate their strengths and weaknesses. Right. And so, if I do have the freedom to step back on the job and I'm not like, oh man, I got to get 400 feet down today or else I'm not going to hit my daily goal, blah, blah, blah. Like if my head is in that space, it's going to be really hard for me to sit there and evaluate somebody's strengths and weaknesses. And, so really, I mean, if there is somebody that's able to evaluate the crew, they don't have to be there all the time. I mean, in 10 minutes, I can go on a job and I can see where the weak points are. I can say, hey, let's work on this, let's do that. I mean, even my most skilled guy, there's room for him to grow. I mean, I'm growing all the time. And I think, realizing, hey, I'm at a point where we make enough off sales. We have enough installers where the bills are going to get paid. I need to be thinking about how we move the business forward. Because if we can get more done and we can have more people getting trained, like I said, if the quality is there, you don't have to spend a lot of time and money on marketing. I mean, it's just going to come. So to me, it's a no-brainer for me because I really do care about giving value to the client. Like I really care about the people that we do work for. I don't see it as just a paycheck. It's like, this is somebody spending a lot of money on these floors, and it means something to them. And so for me, if I could create a business model where I can give them that level of value and they're more than happy to compensate us a very good wage for that service. I mean, to me, that's a win-win situation because, I mean, really, if you're throwing a ton of money into marketing and things like that, it's ultimately less money that there is to go into building value for the client. And I'm not knocking that model. It's just I really love the idea of being able to pour into the people. So, it's almost like that's where your advertising is coming from, is by giving somebody the skills to be able to earn a great wage. And it's like we're diverting a lot of that time and money and energy into people that we get reviews from to free platforms like, Google Local and websites are so cheap, they're nearly free anyways. And you don't have to have anything super crazy awesome if you have people that are just looking up who you are because their neighbor said, hey, Craftsman Hardwood Flooring is the place that you go get wood floors. Yeah. All they got to be able to do is go online and look up Craftsman Hardwood Flooring and find your contact information at that point. And I'm not saying like I want a great website and all that kind of stuff, but I really do love the idea of pouring into people. I feel like you're going to build a strong business doing it that way. Because there's a certain point when all your needs are met, you don't need more money, really. I mean, you can go out and buy awesome, nice, cool things. And I think that that's great. Like, I want all the cool stuff too. But really, we get our meaning in life from our interactions, our relationships with people, So if along the way, I can make that great income and get all the fun, cool stuff, it's like, I really want to make a difference in people's lives, right? Because you can have all the money in the world and just be totally lost. You could lose yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And, so, I mean, to me, it's like, man, that's really cool. Like I can invest into these people like this Gen Z kid. He just graduated high school and he has a great attitude. And I'm like, man, like, hey, like, let's, I want to teach you about like how the business end works so that you can understand how to build value for the company. That way we can pay you more and you can have a great life and you can have a retirement and all of these things and goals that you want to go for. Like, I really care about you. Like, let's make that happen. If you'll partner with me and you're willing to learn, like we can do great things together.
Hold on. I got to process all of this because you're blowing my mind here. So yesterday, which would be, if you're listening to this on the podcast, last week's episode with Dan Welch. If you're listening to this live in the stream that's going on right now, go check out yesterday's stream with Dan Welch. I interviewed a guy that does a lot of commercial tile work, but you are talking about a lot of the exact same things as him. And so his dad started Welch Tile in 1987, and like he was the guy everyone wanted to be around. And so he was able to build people up and build this community and build this camaraderie within this business. And then it was passed down to Dan. And he he made a comment as we were talking that he's the steward of the business. And I thought that was a really interesting way to put it. He didn't claim, like, he is the CEO, but he didn't claim to be the CEO. He's not the boss. He's not anything. He's literally looking at himself as a steward of it to get it from point A to point B so it's stronger and better when he hands it off to the next generation that takes it over. And it blew my mind because he was talking about the same things of, I got to invest in people. I want them to know their worth. I want them to be better than when I found them. Once they leave this company, or once they, we have to part ways, or I'm done and they continue here. Like, everybody needs to be better than we found them. And that's some of the same stuff I've talked about on this show. Is I stop calling them helpers. You said earlier, right? I don't. An apprentice isn't someone that can hand me tools, right? That is a helper. If all you want is someone to hand you tools, go get a helper. I don't want a helper. I want an apprentice. I want somebody to pass this stuff onto so that they can live a life that I found and go have the relationships that I'm building and be passionate about this industry and give to it. And it's fun. This industry gives me way more than I can ever give it. And this show, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you do so much for the industry. Man, I'm not doing anything. To be honest, like, in the grand scheme of the amount of people I'm reaching, I'm not even making a dent. And it is disheartening to me, but it's exciting about with the people that I do reach and I get comments from. But the industry has given me way more because it accepted me when I stumbled in here and just started running my mouth. And so that's even more amazing, is that people are listening and attracted to what I'm doing. So this idea of invest in your team so that you can do better and that you don't have to pull every penny out of the company just for you so that you can have a new four-wheeler or buy a new gun or, buy a fifth wheel and take a 1 month vacation. I think it's really different, but I think there's a lot of business owners that are going to start going that direction. Just from conversations I have, how I see the younger generation interacting with each other, they really value the community thing. And I think you're going to have to build something where you're building people up and pouring into them.
Yeah, no, I agree. If people don't believe in what they're doing, they'll probably just give you 50%. Like, I listened to that podcast with Sprigg, and that really did hit home when he's talking about, an 80% guy that, like, hold on to those guys, that they're rare. And, you're not going to get an 80% guy unless they believe in what they're doing. I mean, people, they don't want to they will work for just a paycheck, but they're really not going to, they're not going to get that passion behind it. And if they get that passion behind it, they're going to make you money. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a win-win situation. I mean, if you treat them nice, you treat them good, and you build them up and you train them skills and you invest into them, I mean, every bit that they glean from that is going to directly benefit you. So mm-hmm. It's really it's a no-brainer in my opinion, because, what's the alternative? I mean, the alternative kind of sucks.
Well, look, the thing that drives me nuts is guys are like, I'm losing money on people. I've never lost money on a guy unless he completely screwed something up, like really bad. And I want to say the worst thing that's happened to me so far, I've dented 2 refrigerator doors, which cost me a few $100s each time. And that was more expensive than what the one apprentice chipped 2 tiles pulling a baseboard out. So I had to go learn how to do tile real quick, and I pulled 2 tiles and replaced it and grouted it, which is the only tile work I've ever done, and it's done and matches what the builder did. So we'll leave it at that. But it wasn't super costly, but it was a pain to have to go and do something outside of my normal range of things. But I think in a labor-based business, especially with flooring, I could get them just doing demo, and even if they only were ever to be a helper and bring me tools and run and open boxes for me and sweep rooms, I can make money on that person because they're going to allow me to install an extra 200 square feet every day. And that easily pays for them at their low rate of pay for being unskilled. So I don't ever get how you lose money on somebody, but if you pour into them and you give them skills and you teach them to value them, not only themselves, but the trade, the homeowner, and do something, it's easy to have somebody help make your company profitable, in my opinion. I don't understand where people are saying like I'm losing money on a guy. Like, how lazy is this dude that he can't even mix your mud fast enough? Or like, I don't know what they're doing to make you lose money, because I can't, it doesn't compute at all.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys that sub for pretty low prices, and I could see how that could become difficult. I mean, I think if you just have like a helper, if you're managing the job well and you feel like you can make a wage, even if you are on low rates, you should technically be able to strategically use your help to make you fast enough to more than cover their wage. Mm-hmm. But I could see, I have seen circumstances where, guys are subbing for they don't know their numbers and they don't know why they're broke because it seems like the check is big and they blame it on their guys. And a lot of it could be because, they really don't know how much it costs to be a proper subcontractor. And they just, it's like a leaky bucket and they don't even know where the holes are. Mm-hmm. And so I think it could definitely happen. I don't think it's the helper's fault though. Like they're blaming the help like that. They may be legitimately losing money on their helper, but it's probably not the helper's fault.
Yeah. I got a thought on that. Give me 1 second here. Excuse me. What's the hardest part of starting and growing a flooring business? Getting clients. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, you need a marketing partner like Traffic Digital. Traffic is a full-service marketing agency that works with flooring companies all across the country. They'll help you get a continuous stream of clients using the most modern online marketing techniques. So visit www.trafficdigital.com today to sign up for a free marketing analysis. And remember, traffic is with a K. I mean, you're right. If you're doing the subcontracting game and you're out there for really low rates, I could definitely see trying to pay somebody losing you money. In fact, somebody reached out about my spreadsheet and they've been running through it, and they're having all of those epiphany moments as they continue to like work out numbers and figure out home expenses, and they're really putting the budget together. And he texted me today a message that he had between him and the owner of the store, and he was like, "Hey man, I was just trying to like make up for some rates because I'm losing money throwing out the waste and throwing out what I remove." And he was like, no, you're only spending this. Like the guy was trying to tell him how much money he was spending, and he was like, okay. And he stopped, but he's got to finish working up some numbers, and I'm hoping to interview him in the next couple of days, because I think it would be awesome to see that person with like the brand new, like bushy-tailed and wide-eyed, like, oh my gosh, like what world have I just been introduced to, where like it's not that you didn't respect yourself before, but I think you find a new way of appreciating what you bring to the table, and you almost find a new respect level for yourself, and you're like, oh, what I do really is important, and it is a skill, and it should pay me well, and there's no reason that I should be struggling to make money. And so I would love to get that interview recorded and see that, because that's the message that needs to get out there, is we all deserve to live comfortably. We shouldn't struggle paycheck to paycheck with what we do. It's absurd. So you're out and you're managing, right? And we've kind of gotten derailed here, and I'm okay with that. This is a great conversation no matter what. I know you have some goals, and it's to your lead guy, your best guy, you want to be able to hand just a work order to and be like, man, there's the truck, there's the trailer, off you go. You've got two other guys you're trying to get worked up, so like you can kind of drop them off at the job site and be like, okay, here's what you got to do. Here's, tools are out there, have at it. And then you've got your youngest guy that you're like, okay, I'm really going to pour into you. I got to get you up to speed so that I can get you to the point where I can put you with these other two guys, and I just drop the three of you off and you start making things happen. So how are you dividing up your time now? Because you've been able to step away from the tools, and I know you have dedicated time to go out and do estimates, and then you write them up the next day. So you've got like 3.5 days in your week, I think, if I remember correctly, where you can like kind of actively be in the field doing things. So how are you dividing up that time to make sure you get where you want to go?
Yeah. It's been an evolving process. What I've been doing lately is, with the mastermind group, I have set those goals. And so it's really helped me to hone in and realize my goals are set based off of what is really going to move the needle. What are those milestones that I need to hit that I can pinpoint and say, wow, I'm bringing home more money and we're getting more things done and, all that kind of stuff. And, I've been really evaluating that, with this goal setting process, because one of the things I realized is in where I am splitting up my time now more so is I'm trying to make the crews more efficient, because I realize that finding a good, solid employee, it's pretty difficult. And then it takes a time investment. When you hire them, you're going to have a while where you're going to be doing a lot of investment into them before you really see the return. And so it kind of was a light bulb moment. On my goals, I have goals for each guy, where I'm trying to get them to be, so I can be intentional about, that process. And honestly, it's really opened my mind. I'm going, wow, I can do this or I can do that. And, I thought it was going to happen more towards the end of next year, or sometime next year. But I got a whole new trailer setup for the two guys that can pretty much do jobs on their own together. And so I'm working on outfitting that right now. So I'm kind of like allocating my time now to setting the guys up for success so that we can move the needle more with the same people. Because I can trust those guys. And then that way the Gen Z kid that is an apprentice, I'm trying to, we had a guy call in sick this week, so I've been covering him a lot, but I've been really enjoying with the apprentice, because I'm really pouring into him. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to have you, I'm going to drop you off at a job. I'm going to help you move some furniture around, and then you're going to prep it all out. This is your first time. I want to see it at X, Y, and Z. Here's the equipment. Here's what you got to do. Let me see what you can do. And I mean, he's excited. I'm like, hey, well, what did you think about that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's different when you don't have somebody there telling you everything to do. Like, you really got to lean on yourself and figure it out. And so that's so that 3.5 days of the week, that's what I'm trying to allocate my time to do. Really have a healthy balance of managing the business side and the sales. I go and do all the estimates and the technical stuff. And then, my mom, she's the salesperson and manager for the store. And so I want to keep my foot on the throttle on that end too. And so it's been good. It can get stressful at times because, like when you have a guy call in, we still got to get deadlines done. So I'll be on the floor more. I really don't want to be doing basic installs anymore, really at all. And I have been doing that a little bit just to kind of keep things up. But I really love it. I love being on the floor. I know a lot of guys like, oh, I just want to get, off my knees and stuff like that. And to me, it's like, I do want to be on my knees doing the custom stuff, but man, it was so nice doing just an easy room. And like, I had my apprentice prep it out for me, man. I had it whipped out like nothing. Man. And I'm like, man, this feels good. Like, this is Yeah, and it was nothing. I mean, it was like the cheapest sport I've done in a long time. But I don't know. It was just satisfying. The lady loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was cool. So I'm kind of looking forward more to where I can be even more. I would love it if if a guy was sick and I had enough, I could just kind of spread the guys around a little bit and just have it totally covered. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working on that and growing in that. But gosh, it's one of those things. I have found, especially working through my goals, that the easy part really, and it's a necessary part, is the head knowledge. Like, you got to have that first, right? Like,
Okay.
if you don't have the head knowledge and know how to operate and manage your time and be a proper business owner, you're not even going to get off the ground, right? But once you have that information, you have to know how to apply it. And it's that's where the mastermind group has been like, okay, I've been reading books and doing all of this stuff for a long time. But now it's like the application and being in a group of people where they're, encouraging each other, and they're saying, you have one guy that's got like a large, flooring company, down to, small, people that are trying to get off the ground and really like launch their business to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we're all trying to apply that knowledge. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. Like, you're not, there's probably very few people that are above, where they really have to be intentional about applying their knowledge, so that they can hit their goals.
I don't think you ever have to stop that. And you're right. The mastermind group, we were able to get a very diverse group of people in there. And it's really interesting to see the bigger businesses that are a little cumbersome and can't pivot on a dime, as opposed to the smaller businesses that can. And like, the information being exchanged is, the bigger businesses are like, oh, I forgot I was able to do things like that. Like,
yeah,
it'll be a little bit harder for me to do, but that's a great idea. And then you have the little guy being like, man, systems and processes, look at those. Like, I need those.
When I grow up, someday when I grow up.
And so it's been a really fun time. I'm absolutely excited about what we've done over the past 2 months, to be honest. And it's been super enjoyable to watch everybody, especially recently. Everyone kind of was like, oh, this is hard and it's work. And I thought it would be easy. 'Cause once again, like you said, right, we all listen to these books and we listen to these podcasts and we're like, all right, yeah, I got it. And I'll just kind of write this thing down over here and we're going to implement it. It never gets implemented. It never gets done the way it's supposed to. And so now there's people holding you accountable because you told them, like, hey, I'm going to do this. So I think that's the only way to move forward. And you're taking that to your team too. And you're like, hey, I need you to be at this level, and this is how we're going to get you there. And here's the steps. And so it's, it's falling down the cracks and everything. And it's working its way into the whole system to evolve it all, which is really cool to see. Excuse me. What do we got? So what's the biggest change, do you think, for you between where you were at in California, subcontracting from stores and probably being driven nuts by like cruddy work orders and stuff, to the mindset you have now?
If I would have guessed what my mindset would be now back then, I would have probably had it totally wrong. Like I said, I wanted the sexy part of what I thought would be awesome about it, and didn't really think about what it would take to get there. And so, to me, I think the biggest change has just been realizing how important it is to invest in people. It honestly, back then, it didn't really dawn on me. I don't know if it was the mindset of the installers, that I worked around, but it was just kind of like, oh yeah, if they really, want to make something or a career of this, then they just need to take initiative and do it. I'm basically, they're going to hand me tools. And if they ever decide that they want to become good enough to be more than that, then, well, I guess we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. or I'm partly kind of like nervous that they're just going to leave if they do learn enough. And so I did have a lot of that mindset, and it's not that I ever agreed with it. I just never questioned it. And so I'm just, oh yeah, that's kind of the way that I would, and I was a little bit different because my dad did say, he goes, hey, I want you to basically go out on your own as quick as you can, because that's the only way that you're really going to make good money. And I did. I mean, I think it's like 20, when I first started subcontracting on my own, because I had started when I was 17 and worked under my dad's license for like a year or so, and then got my own license once I had like California. I think you need like 4 years. And so, yeah, so I mean, it's definitely been evolving. The social media groups have been pretty pivotal on me changing that mindset, because it's kind of hard to come up with that stuff on your own if that's just not what you're used to, or at least for me it was. And so just seeing other people going, hey, we should really build each other up, and we should train, and and I didn't even know that. I thought that there was just manufacturer trains. I didn't know that there was whole trade organizations and things that were promoting that. And I think it's all awesome. I'm going to try to get every single one of my guys to either a manufacturer training course or an association training course. I mean, it changes your mindset. You realize, there isn't just this guy that tells me what to do, and he's the boss, and whatever. It's like, oh wow, like people actually care about this. It's not, just something that, my boss does, or what he tells me to do, or what the other guys do.
Yeah, no, I think man, I didn't come up in that subcontracting world. Like, I worked for an independent dealer guy, and it was me and one other guy was the installer. So I was the apprentice. There was an installer, and the installer was the former apprentice of the business owner that, shortly after I started, he opened a shop. And so he was out running estimates and doing all that stuff. And so I didn't have that upbringing, but I think from the sounds of it, it's a toxic environment of like really disgruntled, angry people that have been doing flooring for a long time. And it's, well, I'll just go tell them that I'll work for 10 cents a yard cheaper so that I get more work. And I hate doing this, and I don't want to teach the guy because he's just going to go out on his own, and then I'm screwed. And I can see how, like, being around that, right, you're not going to get that mindset to want to move forward. I came into this, like, I chose to be here. I chose this industry specifically and said, I want to be here, and I want to run my own business, and I want to do it well. So I went looking for the places to be able to do that. And that's the difference, is once you have that positive mindset and you're out and you're looking for it and you surround yourself with the people that are where you want to be, it becomes so much easier. Another thing you started talking about was the certifications and whatnot. And that's an interesting thing to me. And I know, the NTCA, so the National Tile Contractors Association, has it's called the 5-star program, and it has something to do with like all your guys have to be certified tile installers, and you have to maybe you have to do so much in business. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's, if all your guys are CTIs, you can become a 5-star. And there's not a lot of them in the country, and so it gives you this like bragging point of like, hey, look, we have this sort of recognition from our industry that like we go above and beyond. I would love to see something like that happen. Like, why doesn't the NWFA have something like that? In that if all of your guys are expert level NWFA, or at least, 90% of them or whatever, you get some sort of special recognition for your company. Some of the manufacturers will have like, you have to use NFIC certified guys to go and do like woven goods for carpet installs. And so those guys get the call. Well, what if all of your carpet guys were NFIC certified? Like, let's get them a special recognition. If they're all CFI certified, let's get CFI giving out special recognitions for companies. Or, if you do all the surfaces and your guy can get, I lost him again. If your guy can get all of the certifications from CFI, if he does tile and carpet and laminate and hardwood, like they offer a master certification for carpet. Matt, you're muted. But if they get all of them, like, can we call them like Grand Wizard or something? Like, I don't know. Let's give them a title if they have all of these certifications. Let's set people apart, because that's the biggest problem I see is this trade just isn't appealing. The way it's advertised. I love watching people put up the ads when I like the local business pages that everyone asked me to follow, and the ones that I'm following is looking for helper or looking for someone to help install flooring, long hours, overtime almost mandatory, hard work, you'll hate yourself, must lift 80 pounds like 18 hours a day, you're gonna be sore, and like all this stuff. And yeah, that was appealing. I really want to apply for that job, especially at the wages you're offering. Like, no, let's make it sound sexy. Do you enjoy instant gratification? Do you want to be recognized by a homeowner daily for what you bring to the table in improving their house? Come interview with Illustrious Hardwoods. We have a new position available for an apprentice flooring installer. Starting pay, $20 an hour. What sounds more appealing? Make it sexy, people. Come on.
You know, literally today I heard you saying that. I can't remember if it was the mastermind recording or if I was listening to one of the podcast episodes, but you said that exact same thing. And the funny thing is last night, so we have an ad out, you know, that my mom wrote up, and it basically is what you said not to do. Exactly. And I'm like, she's our salesperson. I'm like, I need to have a talk with her. Like, listen, you need to sell it. He's right. You know, like, we gotta make this. We do really cool shit. Like, you know, we need to have we need to sell that. You know, just like we sell a floor. I think one of the guys was even mentioning yeah, like, you know, it is like selling flooring. You know, if you sell the job, it's like the pay is really secondary, and it's not that we're trying to pay guys less, you know, because it's really cool, but it really is the idea of we want that mindset shift. We want people to be thinking about that they can be passionate about it, not so much, is it a paycheck, or is it as much as I want to make, you know, because there's so much room for growth. I mean, it really is what you put into it, as far as how much you can make. Yeah, so when you said that again, it reminded me again. I'm like, I need to talk to her because we have one of those stupid advertising stuff right now.
You're gonna go home and cry to your mama. Yeah. Like, oh my God, why? Why would you sell something that way? Why would you ever sell something that way? And look, I've done it. Okay, so I know why, because you're trying to be realistic about it. But let's sell the good parts, and we can introduce them to the bad ones. And if they're not willing to do it, then don't do it. And this was where systems and processes come in. Don't just put your phone number out there, put an ad up, and when somebody calls, be like, hey, okay, show up on Monday and I'll try you out for a couple hours. Do an interview. Sit down, learn how to interview people, put together questions, like really, really dig into it. And that's a podcast I need to set up, is finding someone to go and interview about like a larger company that has a solid process of doing that. I have one in mind. I know they've done it before, so I'm trying to find someone else, but they're also, their questions are really good. Their process is really good. So, I
don't know if it would work on a podcast. It'd be kind of cool to hear even if it were a mock interview, but like a real setup situation where you could hear a skilled, you know, somebody that really knocks it on the park on their hires, and just hearing that would be cool, just to kind of, you know, have like a legit, this is literally how we do it. I think I would be interested in hearing that, because there's so much in nuance in the way that you are interacting with that person, I think that makes a difference. It's like, I feel like you could, because I've read, how to do interviews and different things like that. And I think it's different when you hear it really happening for real.
Yeah. I think you just got me paid for 2023, buddy. I'm going to steal that. I'm sorry. Like, I'm using it. And I think that should get me a paid talk somewhere. So I'm gonna put that one together. I'm gonna work on that. That's a great. It's an absolute great idea to be able to actually see an interview happen and the questions and like, work your way through it of why you would ask somebody something one way as opposed to another, and then you can hear why the interviewer would evaluate a question and an answer a certain way. Like I think that would be really valuable for people to see. So no, that's a great idea. I will work on that. Let's see. Is there something about this process of going from your knees to being retail store owner that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? Or just leave the interview again, Matt? I mean, geez, really? Was my question that insulting, buddy? You're muted again, but
I honestly don't know what is going on. It's kicked me off, like literally off the Zoom twice. Like I've never had so much issue. Like we Zoom all the time, right?
Correct.
Like with the mastermind. Like how often have I had this
I don't even know. It's crazy.
I am like, I have do not disturb on. I don't know. But,
so is there not, since my question was so offensive you had to leave, I'll ask it again. What is there something about getting from being on your knees to owning the retail store that I didn't ask you that needs to be put out there?
I mean, I think you covered it pretty good. Something that I've been thinking about a lot is, when you hear the old timers and you hear their stories and stuff like that, like there's something about like the nostalgia of it, hearing, kind of like how the industry has evolved. And just like I'll put a shout out to the Wayne and Rob's podcast, On the Floor with Bona. Like those guys.
Oh my goodness, this is horrendous, man. You're muted. You'll be back. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. So look, I get it, man. Technology difficulties. We're gonna get there. We're almost there. So, Wayne and Rob, and so you're fondly listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they have just some cool stories about, way back and, like problems with jobs, and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just, that's just a thought that I had, because my dad, actually, if you don't mind, you mind if I share a little story?
Please.
Yeah. So my dad has this story. Honestly, I don't even know, he doesn't make up stuff, so I'm like, I guess it's true. But anyways, he used to lay carpet, and he had this coworker, and he said that they had most of the job installed, and everything's going good, and they had this room pretty much done, and they found like a little bump in the carpet, and so they're like, what the heck is this? And they're like evaluating, trying to figure it out, and they're like, let's just get the hammer and see if it will pat down, like maybe there's a flaw in the pad or something, So they go and they pat it down and it looks good. And they're like, okay, well, fine. So they're finishing up some other areas of the house, and homeowner comes in and she goes, hey, my daughter lost her hamster. If you guys see it, let me know where it is.
So your dad may have stolen that. I'll be honest. There's actually there's actually an ad that's exactly
Really?
that. It's this like large carpet installer like finishing up a job, and he goes like patting his pockets and he's looking for his smokes and he can't find them, and he sees a hump in the carpet and he's like, oh shoot, like I left my cigarettes in the floor, and so he starts stomping on it with his foot, and then the little girl like comes and she's like, have you seen Fluffy?
Maybe it's just something that happens to carpet layers.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like maybe there's just like a lot of hamsters, and
I guess
they get out all the time, and it's just not a good combination if you're getting carpet installed.
I could. Who knows, man? It's if it's true, it's absolutely hilarious, and I like that's sad. But oh my gosh,
I need to ask about that. It's been years since he told that story. Like, where did that story come from? Come on. Because he has a lot of other great stories. Like, he's got some cringe-worthy stories. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I think we all get them slowly but surely. It's, man, we had this one lady talking to us one day. She really hated her husband, like hated her husband. She was like desperate housewife kind of hate your husband. And he's gone again, folks. It's insane. So yeah, just hated him. And like I think we were probably there like 2 or 3 days, and she's just like talking about how much she hates her husband. I don't know if she wanted us to like come on to her or like, I don't know what she wanted, but she would just not shut up about how lonely and like, you know, just how much she disliked this man she lived with. And I'm just like, I'm married. I'm not even going there. Like, I hear you.
Oh,
I'm just over here working, and I'm going to keep working. It was pretty funny.
We had a lady, Kyle. Oh my gosh, we just got finished up with her, and she has like a Spanish accent, and she fights with her husband constantly. But when I did the estimate, they wanted all these patterns and different things. I had posted some.
Yeah, no, that job
it.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, and she would go to her husband, and she would go. They would disagree on how they want the pattern, and she'd go, his name's Ron. She'd go, Ron, you have no vision. And she like right in front of it, like yelling at him. And then he wanted us to show how to use a buffer because he's got stone floors. He wanted to polish them himself. And so, the buffer is comical to watch, to train somebody anyways. And she the whole time going, you can't do it. I told you can't do it. And he's like, well, you told me to buy this thing. And she's like, well, we just need to hire professionals. You can't do it. You just can't do it. And so I'm like holding the buffer so that he can learn how to like go up and down while he's telling him this stuff. And I'm just like trying not to laugh. And then finally he stops and he's like, oh, I think you're getting the hang of it. And she looks at me and she goes, he is smart, but he has no common sense. And I just lost it. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. And my guys start laughing. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to teach this guy how to use the freaking buffer. And she is just like nonstop. And then when we had it all done, pretty much like the last thing was a fireplace. And I didn't really want to do it. Was too bold for me. So I kept trying to talk her out of it. She's like, no, I have a vision. And that's how we need to do it because that's my vision. Like she keeps saying this stuff, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. And so finally when we're all done, she looks at me and she goes, you know what? I had the vision and I knew you had the skills to do it. And I told my brother-in-law that and he goes, yeah, like in her mind, like we became an unstoppable force.
There you go. But she's happy and she loves it. That's what matters. Like, man, yeah. I don't think I've ever had to. No, I've installed some ugly floors. Like I would never pick it. It's not for me. But look, if that's what makes them happy, like I'm happy to put it in and make it look good. Like I'll do everything I can to make it look good. You enjoy it and have fun. So she created her team and she made it happen. And sadly, Ron's gonna get abused along the way.
Yeah, we the next door neighbor came over because we had done her floors too, and she goes, "Oh, when I saw you guys show up here, I've been praying for you ever since." And then the I didn't realize the general contractor we do a lot of high end work for lives right next door, and he was like joking around, "Hey, if you don't get over on my job, I'm gonna blah blah blah." And he comes over one of the days and he goes, well, you guys must be doing a good job because all the rest of the subcontractors that they've hired are buried out there in the backyard somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's so bad. That's funny. But she's happy and that's what matters. Paid. Yeah, exactly. Hey, the check cleared. So there you go. And look, you should send that guy send him a man card. Take him out for a drink or something, man. Something. Help him out. Oh, man. All right, Matt. I appreciate it. I think that will do it for us. We will be back next week as per usual. What do I got? Once again, subscribe to the podcast, folks. Do me a favor. Like if you're a regular listener and you're pulling it up in your phone every week, just hit the subscribe button. It'll automatically download. It's cold out. So if you're listening to this live, if you're one of my couple of listeners, or you watch it the next couple of days, look, it's cold, man. Go buy somebody a Floor Academy shirt or a hoodie or a beanie or something for the holidays. Christmas is coming up. It'll make a great gift. FloorAcademyPod.com. Click on shop or store. There's a link up there in the corner. Go through that. Help support the show. I'll make a couple bucks. I appreciate it. We got the Patreon at patreon.com/Floor Academy. Matt, thank you for being a awesome sponsor of that. I very much appreciate it. You don't, as little as $5 a month, folks. If this show has helped you grow your business and make you more profitable, if you can send a little love my way, I would very much appreciate it. I do most of this out of I love doing this. It's fun. And so, yes, I have some sponsors. Yes, I have a little Patreon money. I make a little bit. I'm not getting rich. I still got to install floors and run a retail shop. So,
I'll chime in on that. You really need to do that. Like, you'll never notice if you put like $5 a month on there, and it's going to help so many guys in the industry. It's like literally like the easiest, simplest like thing that you won't even notice, but it will go a long ways if enough guys do it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's automatic. You put your card in, and they pull the money out every month on the first, I believe. And so whatever you put in there, they take it out. What else do I have coming up? Go to Surfaces. It's coming up. Technically, there's a day on January 31st. They're going to do education events. I got to talk that day. I've got to talk on Tuesday, the February 1st, and Wednesday, February 2nd. I also have 2 podcasts scheduled to give. They're going to do some podcasting and video stuff this year. So I'm going to be a busy man at the show working my butt off, but go to the show. The people you're going to meet, the things you're going to see, the manufacturers and retailers and vendors that you can interact with, the relationships you will build, it is worth missing a week of work to go to this show. I guarantee it. The time investment will prove tenfold in the future. Let's see here. I don't know. I think that does it pretty good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm really bad at this ever since I lost all of my I'll just record it afterwards and not have scripts to read. So I'm figuring it out. But I think I hit it all. So, all right. Have you ever tried to install LVP on steps only to struggle with the solution for the stair nose? Introducing Snap Caps by SnapTech. You simply send SnapTech the exact LVP your client selects, and they'll turn it into a perfectly matched stair nose that clicks flush into the tread plank for a simple and reliable solution. Visit www.snaptech.biz to learn more or order. Flooring Domain is an award-winning online flooring directory and service marketplace that helps you find more clients, grow your online presence and reputation, and your brand. Whether you are a carpet store, a flooring installer, perhaps a tile contractor, there are projects for everyone with a daily stream of clients visiting Flooring Domain and looking for experts like you. Flooring Domain offers a free listing option that allows you to find new client leads. You can set up a free account at Flooring Domain by visiting flooringdomain.us. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for attending the live streams. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel because we're posting everything up over there as well. Heck, I got the Instagram now too. We're over at Floor Academy on Instagram. So look me up over there. That's it. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.